Thanks for joining us. I do hope your Thursday is off to a great start. 19 minutes past the top of the hour. Next to me, you're taking a live look at Kyiv, the capital city in Ukraine. Continuing to follow the live coverage as Russia has invaded Ukraine, declaring war. 40 people have died following this military attack from the Russian Federation. Right now, more than 190,000 Russian Federation troops are reported on the border. Airstrikes have been happening. Alarms and sirens have been sounding. Our coverage will continue throughout the morning right here on Local News Live. Below that, you're also seeing a live look from a different area, courtesy of Ukrainian TV. Reporters there on the ground, as well as reporters across the globe in Ukraine and surrounding areas, covering every developing topic that unfolds here, and of course showing us a glimpse as to what it looks like there. So we'll talk more about that here coming up a little later this morning on Local News Live. But I do want to shift our attention because it is the morning. I know you're dealing with a lot of hard news here this morning, so I'm going to lighten up a little bit, right? We'll still go ahead and take that live look from Ukraine. However, this is a story that has some amazing video that I want to share with you. You're going to love it. A moose rescued from ice water in Alaska. And of course, our station, KTUU Alaska News Source, covering every bit of this developing story. I want to share it with you. Let's go ahead and take a look.
A trapped moose. Taylor Burke has the story of the heroic efforts.
So this poor guy fell in, and we're gonna get him out.
Andrew Corner and his friend Terry White were heading home after a day of riding around on snow machines when they spotted a moose stuck beneath the ice of a frozen creek.
He was there for a couple days because he rubbed off like a lot of his hair off the back of his neck.
The guys immediately began to shovel an 8-foot circle around the moose in an effort to get him free. During this time, a few other men saw their rescue efforts and began to help. One man had a sledgehammer on hand to make breaking chunks of ice easier.
And you could just tell by his eyes that he was just so ready to get out of that hole. And that's when me and Terry looked at each other and we're like, we're not going to leave till this little guy's out of this hole.
Andrew has been living in Alaska for the last 15 years, so this is hardly his first moose encounter. But being that close to one is a nerve-wracking experience.
He was definitely not happy, but we let him calm down. I mean, he was breathing heavily when we first got there.
Despite knowing this trapped, scared moose could harm them, Andrew and friends kept digging and after an hour and a half, set him free.
Almost out. We're gonna leave and give him an opportunity to rest and come on out of there.
The feeling of saving a life is something that will stick with them for a long time.
It felt amazing. Like, it felt great. Like, that little guy has somewhat chance to live now since we stopped and helped him.
I'm so glad they stopped. Homeowners who have struggled.
Oh my goodness, that video. Wow, did you see that? We had to shift our attention to some fun news here this morning. That was crazy. Not every day that you see a moose being rescued from ice water there in Alaska. And wow, what a great team effort there. So I had to share that video with you. And if you want to check it out or share it with someone you know, all you have to do is visit AlaskaNewsSource.com. Our colleagues there at KTUU have you covered. Well, good morning to you if you're just joining us. I'm Jessica Bowman, and of course, we are following all the latest developments unfolding as Russia has declared war in Ukraine. And so I have some video I want to share with you coming up on the other side of the break. We're going to break everything down for you if you're just now joining us as to what has unfolded and transpired this morning. 23 minutes past the top of the hour if you're keeping up with your time. As we go to break, a live look from the capital city in Ukraine. This is a live look over Kyiv. Want to show you I want to take a look back this morning. We just saw some new video that's come into our newsroom, but now it looks like previously this morning we did have this live for you, but I want to play this back for you this morning. As the NATO Secretary General says, this is a full-fledged invasion, and what we're seeing now is this full-fledged invasion of Ukraine from multiple directions, and that was just indicated by that video that you were seeing from one of our colleagues. And so let's go ahead and take a look back right now as we continue to follow along with the newest information coming in. And of course, we are awaiting for more information to be announced from the Biden administration on what this means for Americans, what you need to know, and what the severity of those sanctions will be. So earlier this morning, members of the NATO speaking out. I want to take you back for a look in case you missed any of those words. I want to get you up to date with the newest information this morning. Let's go ahead and take a look.
What we see now is a full-fledged invasion of Ukraine from multiple directions. We see air, land, and naval forces taking part in those attacks. It's too early. We don't have a full damage assessment yet, but this is extremely serious. It's an attack on a peaceful, sovereign, independent nation, and it is a war of a type and a scale we actually thought was part of history in Europe, but now it's back in real, and it's imposing enormous suffering on innocent people in Ukraine.
All right, again, and some words early this morning from one of the NATO leaders there as we continue to try and update you on all the new information coming in this morning, which, of course, is slightly limited. And so as I pull up the next video, I just want to show you this live look at Kyiv, again, capital city, Ukraine. Explosions reported in this area. And so the time right now is about 4:30 p.m. in Ukraine. You know, we are anticipating what could happen this evening after it turns dark in Ukraine. And so I'm trying to bring up some other video here for you, just to show you a look back from yesterday evening as we were able to see some of the explosions unfortunately unfold right before our eyes. We were hearing from different people about this invasion. And so a resident with the U.S., he was interviewed saying, "We will win this war. If America doesn't step aside, we will win this war." That's what a Kyiv resident told some of our colleagues. I want to play this interview for you here as I pull up this video for you and show you some of the devastating impacts that areas were facing in the Ukraine right now. I take you to this interview.
Putin will not invade Ukraine. I mean, he will not come to Kyiv or to any other cities. He will stay in Donetsk, definitely. They attacked the military service and aircraft, not the civil. So that's why they want us to be scared. But actually, I believe that right now the situation is in the Americans' hands. If Joe Biden, the U.S. president, will be tough with Putin, there will be more sanctions, will be more pressure, then it'll be okay. If America doesn't step aside, we will win this war. Because Ukraine is prepared to fight. We are ready to fight. We're ready to protect our land. We respect Russian people, but we do not respect Russian president.
All right, so that was just one person giving their opinion and speaking out about what is happening here and what is unfolding. A very active, developing scene still right now. And so here's some of the video that I want to share with you right now on Local News Live, just to take a look back as we continue to follow along with the latest developments here. This is some of the video from the Ukrainian president's office as those airstrikes played out yesterday, last night, overnight, into the evening. These are some pictures and now some video. You can see the airstrikes in the background. You can see the military forces moving in. This is from the Russian Ministry of Defense. Ukrainian border guard also sharing some of this video, some of these images. We're getting some.
We're here for one reason.
Let's go ahead and listen in to this sound.
To ask Russia to stop. Return to your borders. Send your troops and your tanks and your planes back to their barracks and hangars.
And as you can see, some of the leaders that we have been listening to, not only this morning, but throughout the past couple of days, they are urging President Vladimir Putin to end this peacefully. And as you heard the member from the United States say, pull back, you know, end this peacefully, end this war. But as it's unfolding, it doesn't appear that is happening. So again, this is a picture here, an image, some video from the Russian Ministry of Defense as Russia has declared war in Ukraine. And so if you're just joining us, it's about 20 minutes until the top of the hour. President Biden expected to give an update today after he meets with members of the G7, those global leaders. He is going to talk to them today, this morning, about severe sanctions Russia will in fact face if they do not conclude this war. So again, this is some video here that I wanted to share with you, and you can just see the impacts. It's really, if you take, I just stopped this video because I want you to stop. And I want you to take a look at your screen. And also, while you take a look at that, I'm going to pull up another image here of a live look from Kyiv, capital city here in the Ukraine. Just in this video just really puts a human element to this story that is unfolding. You have heard on the news, you've heard us talk here on Local News Live late last night into the early morning hours today. The top headlines: Russia has invaded Ukraine. Russia has declared war in Ukraine. The Ukrainian president, President Zelensky, speaking out yesterday, just getting emotional, talking about what is happening in Ukraine. Well, as we cover this live coverage, you know, it's hard to see the human element to what is happening with this breaking news, with this story that is making an impact across the globe, because we aren't seeing those faces. We aren't seeing those families. We aren't seeing those people who are suffering. We aren't seeing those people who are rushing to get cover, who are trying to get out of the country, who are trying to reach safety, because it is hard to see those faces at this time because everything is so chaotic. Airstrikes are happening, and they are happening, you know, as families rush to get out of this chaos. And so as we take a look at this picture, you know, it just really solidifies that so many people are being impacted and what is happening. And this is just one of the images that really just kind of paints the picture that Russia has declared war and so many innocent people will suffer. And, you know, some of this information, you know, as martial law is declared in Ukraine, as this full-scale invasion happens, the UN Secretary General, was speaking from New York last night. The Ukrainian ambassador to the UN also speaking out, very emotional about what's happening and just trying to plead with Russian President Vladimir Putin to end this peacefully because, you know, they continued to say so many times, just repeatedly, thousands, if not millions of people will die. This is a war. This is a historical embarrassment. Those are some of the words that they were saying. Thousands, if not millions of people will suffer. Thousands and millions of people will be displaced and lose hope. And so, again, a lot of information unfolding here. And at one time last night, I remember the UN Secretary General just saying, he was just urging President Putin, and he kept saying, in the name of humanity, bring your troops back, stop the invasion, stop the airstrikes from happening. And speaking of troops, the Russian Federation has more than 190,000 troops on the border there. And so again, this was just an image that really stuck out in my mind. And I wanted to share that with you this morning as we continue to follow along with the latest coverage here. And speaking of those explosions, you know, there's also some other video that I want to share with you as this was happening. You know, journalists from around the world are covering this developing story that could have, and, you know, leaders from the UN are saying will have a global impact. Some of those explosions, rockets caught on camera as our journalists work to bring you what is happening from the front lines. And so I want to share this video with you here. I have not seen it. So let's go ahead and watch it together.
Ukrainians who resist. Oh, I tell you what, I just heard a big bang right here behind me. I thought we shouldn't have done a live shot here. There are big explosions taking place in Kiev right now. I can't see where they're taking place from this vantage point here on top of the roof of the hotel in central Kiev. And I can't explain what they are, but I heard 4 or 5 explosions a few moments ago. I don't know whether our viewers or whether you in the studio there could hear what I just heard.
All right, so again, that was just a snippet into some of that frontline reporting that we are seeing. And as we follow along with this unfolding today, I want to bring up, you know, we've taken a look at some reporters' coverage there from the front lines as Russia has declared a war in Ukraine. But I also want to kind of turn the tables here, and I want to talk about some of the impacts we're already seeing from this war that Russia has launched, this large-scale military invasion. And I want to show you some of the numbers here right now as we talk about the stock markets. This is a live feed that we are seeing right now from the New York Stock Exchange, and you can see the numbers. You can see where they are right now. And as we talk about the financial markets, you know, oil prices jumped by more than $7 per barrel. And futures, of course, for Wall Street's benchmark S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average were off by more than 2.5%. And so market benchmarks in Europe and, of course, Asia fell as much as 5%. And that comes as traders just really tried to figure out how large Vladimir Putin, the president there in Russia, how large this incursion would be in the scale of Western retaliation. So I wanted to get you up to date with these numbers as we have been talking about it throughout the morning right here on Local News Live. That is the latest from the New York Stock Exchange. Well, I'm Jessica Bowman. If you are just joining us, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on Local News Live as we talk about these developing stories that are happening not only across America, but across our nation. We are seeing the newest information unfold this morning after Russia has declared war in Ukraine. The global markets plunge after Russia attacks Ukraine. You're seeing the numbers live there on your screen. And of course, we will continue to follow along with the latest numbers coming in, the latest information, the latest video, any live coverage that we can bring to you. We will definitely do so. Well, it is 15 minutes past the top of the hour. We are going to take a quick break, but we'll be back here on the other side with more live continuing coverage this morning on Local News Live as we talk about those stories that are impacting not only our nation, but the entire world. Stay with us. I'll see you back here in 3 minutes. now you're taking a live look here at the numbers. I'm going to make them kind of in a different box here so you can see what is happening. Again, this is the Dow Jones. You're taking a live look here at the numbers. And caught on camera, we have seen military rockets fired from Russia this morning as Russia declares war in Ukraine. And so as we talk about the financial markets, the U.S. markets obviously pointed toward a sharply lower open. They have plunged this morning. We're seeing that firsthand. Oil prices jumped by more than $7 per barrel. And futures for Wall Street benchmark, the S&P 500 and, of course, the Dow Jones that you're seeing right now were off by more than 2.5%. And market benchmarks in Europe and Asia fell as much as 5% as, traders just really tried to figure out how large the scale of the attack was going to be. So we will continue to follow along with the latest numbers coming in from the New York Stock Exchange. In the meantime, I want to show you some video as we continue to follow along with the newest information coming out of Ukraine. And this is video from last night as airstrikes began. And you can see in this video what was unfolding. And so many people waking up this morning after the attacks began last night, waking up just in a sense of fear, in a sense of urgency, panic, wanting to know what is going to lie ahead. And, as you take a look at this image, I would like to talk more about what people in Ukraine, which right now it's almost 5 p.m. there, but what they were having to deal with. And, I guess, as they woke up this morning, continuing throughout the day, so many people just rushing to get that sense of security. Some people trying to leave. And at dawn Thursday there in Ukraine, of course, uneasy efforts at a normality were really shattered. A Russian attack came after weeks of warnings, and we have talked about those warnings throughout Local News Live the past couple of weeks. We've shared them with you. And, it's just unfolded in a way that, unfortunately, analysts kind of predicted. We have seen that unfolded last night, last evening, throughout the overnight hours into the early morning hours here in America. And so as you take a look at that image there, I also want to continue to show you the numbers from the New York Stock Exchange as those numbers just plunge. And so weeks of warnings, it really just hits home for so many people in the Ukraine. And, we have seen smoke rise from cities. We have heard sirens sounding well away from the country's disputed eastern border. That attack, more than 190,000 Russian Federation troops, more than 190,000 troops on the border. And that attack and that war that Russia declared started on the eastern border, made its way through, and explosions heard across Ukraine. In the capital city, Kyiv, which we actually lost our live feed of, but we should be expecting it back here sometime this morning. But once some analysts did say, since this large-scale military attack on Ukraine has been launched, and explosions were heard in the capital city, it just really sets an additional tone as to what is unfolding. Martial law was declared in Ukraine. And as we talk about the people there, as we see the smoke rising, as we see the airstrikes happening, a morning commute transformed into chaos. And those were some words from the AP here. You could see lines of cars just waiting at fuel stations, or drivers just trying to flee from the capital city, and people with luggage taking shelter in the subway. And so I'm trying to find some of that video here for you right now to show you. And as I search for that, because I do want to share it with you, I want to show you again this live look at the numbers here as the Dow is just dipping right before our eyes here this morning. And it looks like right now we are awaiting for the potential of another press conference. This live footage just coming into Local News Live right now. So I want to share this with you, and I'm trying to get a little more information on it while I work to find some new video to show you some of the people just trying to flee Kyiv, just trying to flee that capital city. And so the smaller box on your screen is this live footage footage that's just coming in. Okay, so here's what I'm learning. I'm learning that the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Ukraine is actually going to hold a press briefing here coming up momentarily. So this is what's happening. So as soon as that begins, of course, I will bring you that live coverage right here on Local News Live. And, you know, while we are following along with the latest, I'm going to try and get this video for you in case you have not seen it. I want to share it with you because so many people were just trying to flee the capital city. They were trying to leave, trying to get out. As air raid sirens were heard, you know, the president just showing a lot of emotion last night during that Security Council, that emergency meeting that was held, talking about his people in the Ukraine and the suffering that they are having to deal with because Russia has now declared war in the Ukraine, trying to take over. And I'm going to have some of those words for you here coming up a little later. And it looks like we're also receiving some new information that's coming in right now from the White House. So let me gather that together so I can bring that information to you. And here is some video that I want to share. This was some local residents from Ukraine just lining up at banks, hoping to get some money out as they make their way out, or they just kind of bear down and have to deal with what's unfolding. So let me pull this up for you this morning. If you're just joining us here on Local News Live, I'm Jessica Bowman, and we're just working through the timeline of events and what is unfolding right now as Russia has declared war in the Ukraine. So let's go ahead and show you this video as people in the Ukraine just work to try and seek security. Let's see if we can listen in here. And, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I would like to talk about it again. Just seeing this video, we saw a picture earlier, and this video also kind of forecasts and overshadows some of what we're talking about. You know, we're talking about the explosions heard in multiple cities as Russia attacks Ukraine. We're hearing from global leaders. We're hearing from so many people describing what's unfolding, but seeing people in Ukraine, residents just urging to get what they need to be safe, just puts a human element to what is unfolding. All right, so it looks like this press conference is beginning. Let me take you there live. Let's listen in.
UN to bring a resolution which condemns the Russian action. Thank you. We're discussing the resolution today. I can't tell you the exact timing, but this is an important moment for member states to stand up and be counted. Thank you.
All right, so you heard live coverage there. Minister for Foreign Affairs of Ukraine says it is time for people to stand up, come together, and it looks like he is going into a meeting and says more information will be released in the coming hours today and this evening. And so that's just some new information coming in. That was a quick live interview that we shared with you right here on Local News Live, just to update you on the situation unfolding. And so if you take a look at the larger part of your screen, again, you're seeing faces, you're seeing families, you are seeing people that have woke up this morning that continued their day in fear as to what is unfolding as Russia is now calling it a war on Ukraine. Martial law has been declared. The UN Secretary General spoke out yesterday, last night rather, from New York, just really emotional about what's happening and just urging the Russian President Vladimir Putin to end this peacefully. But as we have seen this played out with the video that we've seen of those airstrikes that I just showed you, right now it appears that it is not ending peacefully. And we are expected to hear from President Biden here coming up a little later this morning after he has that meeting with G7 global leaders. These are people that, you know, have a huge impact most powerful leaders around the world. And President Biden is meeting with them. And later this morning, we'll give an update on the severity of the sanctions Russia will face as this attack continues. And again, this is a full-scale invasion. More than 190,000 Russian Federation troops on the border right now in the Ukraine. And, you know, the UN Secretary General just says devastating consequences could be felt globally. The global economy could be impacted. And they say this is something that will continue. And consequences that some of them are outlining: high prices of oil, rising interest rates. And so the UN Secretary General, as well as Ukrainian ambassador, and so many global leaders from around the world just urging Vladimir Putin to end this peacefully, to take troops back into Russia. Military action will happen in Ukraine. Numbers of people will die, be displaced, and lose hope. So we're continuing to follow along with live coverage coming in right here to Local News Live. I'm Jessica Bowman. It is 1 minute until the top of the hour. And if you're just joining us again, here's another, here's a larger look at the Dow Jones right now as numbers plunge. The market, if you're just waking up, again, the market plunging this morning after Russia has invaded Ukraine. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and I will see you back. Let's go ahead and check out your national forecast this morning. DAM out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Let's send things over to Chief Meteorologist Patrick Bigby for an update on your weather for this Thursday morning.
This is your Local News Live national forecast.
And good morning, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Patrick Bigby here at WDM 7 News. You're watching Local News Live. We're going to take a break from the headlines going on to talk about the weather, and it's a big deal across